unfathomable world. A world we know exists, but nobody wants to get to know.
The men incarcerated here are extremely dangerous.
Those are chopping up heads and everything.
Total anarchy.
Another inmate attacked me. He stabbed my eye.
The more corrupt, the better for me.
Behind bars is a struggle just to survive.
I won't hurt anybody else. I just hurt myself.
And only the strongest will survive.
I keep on fighting to get out of here for them.
Their lives are always in somebody else's hands.
Pretty much caged animals. They'll lock you up and throw away the key.
Behind bars. In the toughest prisons in the world. Baja California, in northern Mexico. The Mexican underworld is concentrated here, right on the American border. The cartels fight over this drug and arms corridor in no man's land with savage violence. The bloody consequence? Countless murders, kidnappings, and torture. Thousands of soldiers and police officers take part in the fight against the narcos every day. But in a vicious circle of corruption and violence, the situation is more dangerous than ever. As a check on the drug war, the worst criminals are banished to the desert, to the middle of nowhere, to the dreaded maximum security prison, El Hongo. A high-tech fortress designed according to American standards, the only prison in all of Mexico where bribery is useless. Fences over 10 feet high, countless video cameras. The inmates here must obey the law of the guards.
There's nothing here. No drugs, no tobacco. The government's in charge.
But resistance stirs within.
The prisoners got out of their cells, ripped the legs off the tables and chairs, and attacked us with these homemade weapons.
Cartel killers, drug bosses, child molesters. Serving sentences of up to 70 years, the inmates have nothing left to lose.
We can't always win. That just means we have to stop from fighting them.
A daily struggle for survival.
The hardest thing is not knowing what will happen each day.
In a prison for the toughest criminals in the country, it only takes one spark to light the powder keg. "11:30 a.m. Shift change in the maximum security bunker. Starting now, 26-year-old Parra will spend 24 hours behind these walls. The command center has to give its approval each time the gate is opened. No one enters El Hongo without consent. This is a super maximum security prison. Everyone is subject to the same search procedure. No exceptions. Nothing is allowed through the security check. No cell phones, cigarettes, or food. Each new shift demands a major effort from the 26-year-old guard.
When I first started working here, I was afraid of the prisoners. But you get used to it over time. I can deal with it better now.
Entrance into the high-tech bunker requires a fingerprint and iris scan. The first stop, the weapons storeroom.
Hi. I'd like a gas canister and a baton, please.
Live ammunition is only allowed on the watchtowers and outside the prison walls. Inside, the guards protect themselves from rebellious prisoners with tear gas and batons. A necessity. El Hongo is one of the biggest prisons in Mexico and one of the most notorious. The gigantic complex consists of 3 security zones. El Hongo 1 houses 3,000 prisoners of all kinds: murderers, rapists, drug dealers. Next door, El Hongo 2 has about 600 inmates who require the next highest security level. Gang members and rebels are housed separately in F Block. El Hongo 3 tops them all. Its nearly 300 prisoners are among the most dangerous criminals in the whole country. The new shift begins in El Hongo 2. Along with 20 other guards, Parra has to keep the unruly prisoners under control. In the 5 years in which he's worked at the prison, he has already experienced a major riot.
La puerta del dormitorio quedó abierta.
The cell door was open,
Y los privados
and the prisoners got out of their cell.
En ese momento estaban las sillas y mesas así como están aquí.
They ripped the legs off the tables and chairs and attacked us with these homemade weapons.
Y lo que son las patas de las mesas se quitan, se despegan. Y empezaron a agarrarlas.
Honestly, I was scared.
Armas para ellos, empezaron a agarrarlas.
But you've got to control your feelings.
Pues la verdad,
You have to keep your impulses in check.
Pero igual pues tienes que controlarte, tienes que controlar tus impulsos.
The guards only managed to put down the riot with the help of the police and the military. Cell check. 76 inmates in one room. Under observation 24 hours a day. Privacy, none at all. Nevertheless, the prisoners find ways to escape the watch of the authorities.
Igual también tenemos
There are blind spots here,
puntos ciegos.
places with no cameras.
Digamos nosotros donde no hay cámaras.
So we have to go into the cells to check whether any prisoners are lying there, injured for example.
Ningún privado,
The inmates know where the cameras don't reach,
porque regularmente pues ellos
and that's where they go to resolve their problems.
son las áreas que utilizan para arreglar lo que ellos dicen sus problemas.
That's why Parra is checking the washing areas. Many prisoners can't deal with the prison's strict rules. The result, they lash out violently at others or themselves. Today, however, he doesn't find anything. Francisco, a prisoner, knows these problems well. He's been here for 8 years.
The best is not to cause any problems or start a fight with other prisoners. I just want to do my time. If you touch other people's stuff, you'll get in trouble, and usually into a fight.
See nothing, hear nothing, say nothing. This is already the 32-year-old's 5th time in prison, this time for drug dealing and stealing guns. In El Hongo, however, he's gotten clean for the first time, the hard way.
The guards are in control. There's nothing here, no drugs, no tobacco. The government's in charge. They're the bosses, not us.
Poverty and lack of opportunity drive many Mexicans to drug addiction. But in the maximum security stronghold in the desert, it's nearly impossible to get access to drugs. Sensors, cameras, cell phone jammers. The prison resembles a high-tech fortress. Sharp shooters on 15 watchtowers make sure around the clock that nothing comes in or out. Those who try end up in the notorious F Block. Isolation and monotony. The punishment for everyone who causes problems in the prison. 2 prisoners per cell at the most. But even that doesn't prevent many from rebelling against the system. Once a day, guards like Parra have to check if everything's okay.
What are you doing?
I'm just making a list of what I want to buy in the store.
Gabriel has been behind bars for 15 years, the last 10 in the special housing unit. Nevertheless, the prisoner is still in active contact with others.
Oh, this is my mail. My mail We send mail through other floors, other parts. We have ways to communicate either sign language or dialect. We have phonics words that cars can understand.
Gabriel is not supposed to have contact with other prisoners. A couple years ago, he was one of the main people behind the riot.
They consider us dangerous to other people. The way we think, we influence a lot of people to think a certain way, like us, and they consider us dangerous to them.
Gabriel is from Los Angeles. He's a member of a Hispanic gang called Blythe Street. He was imprisoned for crimes he committed as part of the gang.
I'm here for kidnapping. For kidnapping, which that was committed in 2003, that was 15 years ago. Yes. My sentence was 33 years and a half. Yes, that's my sentence, original sentence. But to be honest with you, just living incriminating, but I really don't care right now. I'm in a country where it's gonna corrupt it, so money talks, and I'll be out pretty soon. I already did more than enough time, so I'll be out soon. Yes.
Confident statements for a man who has only seen the world from inside a jail for the last 15 years. His cellmate, Gilbert, is also from LA. He hasn't set foot outside the prison walls for 16 years. The one bright spot, a barred window with a view of the yard. Solitary confinement means isolation. But Gilbert knows how to get by. Using a homemade sling, he trades food with the inmates on the floor below.
We have to do it without them seeing us. So it's not allowed. Usually, if I get caught, they'll probably take 2 weeks from yard for me, and I won't go out for nothing. For 2 weeks, I'll be here myself.
He's willing to take his chances. On the outside, he experienced and did much bloodier things.
I'm here for working with the cartels in Mexico, trying to get all the territories, and that was our job. Lifting people up, chopping up heads and everything.
Beheaded, cut into pieces, mutilated beyond recognition. The methods of the Mexican drug cartels are gruesome. In 2017, more than 19,000 murders were committed by the mafia.
All I can tell you is that after so many things you do, you forget, you stop counting. That's the way it is. I mean, at first it's just you just do it for the money. It's nothing personal, and then after that, it's just like if it's a normal thing, just for the how do you say adrenaline? It's just for the adrenaline, and it's easy to get away with it here in Mexico. I'm only here for guns, 4 guns. So I was one of the lucky persons. Yeah.
Gilbert is only doing time for arms dealing, not for murder. It's no rarity in Mexico. Only 2% of violent crimes ever get solved. That means 98 out of 100 murderers and kidnappers get away with it. 2 p.m., time to go to the yard. Once a week, the prisoners in F Block are allowed to spend time in small groups in would-be freedom. The only diversion from their monotonous daily routine. The inmates now have 2 hours to make telephone calls and go shopping. Cash is forbidden in the prison. Payments are made via fingerprint. Money can be paid into the prisoners' accounts by wire transfer or in cash on visiting day. A maximum of $65 per week. In this way, the prison director hopes to prevent extortion and corruption. The only contact to the outside world? The telephone in the yard. Family news is the top priority.
My daughter's the priority. That's what I call first. This is how she's doing.
Gabriel's 3 daughters all live in Los Angeles. Tomorrow is a big day. His youngest daughter is coming to visit for the first time in 14 years. Gabriel clarifies the final details of their meeting. After that, he takes care of some business.
All right, if the director does... Casper! No answer, dog. Well, hold on, you did. Hey, what's up? Hey, I'm
Gabriel also makes phone calls on behalf of others. They use hand signals to communicate with each other. An act of kindness or calculation?
Whatever I can assist them with, whatever's to my reach. If besides doing my calls, that's my priority. If I can help them out with other people's calls, so I do that.
Only 2 hours of freedom per week. That's part of the concept in El Hongo, one of the most secure prisons in the world. The prisoners in F Block are lucky. There's one section in the prison where the inmates see even less daylight. El Hongo 3 houses the worst criminals in all of Mexico. It's super maximum security. Organized crime, cartel bosses, corrupt government officials. The prisoners here could jeopardize the safety of the entire country. This man is the warden of evil, Commander Carlos Villalbazo. He's been in charge of El Hongo 3 for several years. In that time, he has experienced many dangerous situations. The most recent attack, an inmate wounded him with a knife.
The hardest thing is not knowing what will happen, what to expect. It always depends on the mood of the prisoners. No 2 days are alike.
Shift change. The commander is aware of the constantly lurking danger. That's why the guards work in teams.
Being careful is the most important thing. The moment you feel too secure, the prisoners could pounce. Either they attack you with their fists, beat you, or they kill you.
1 minute of inattentiveness could cost the commander his life. Each day, the guards in El Hongo 3 have to settle disputes or separate prisoners. No wonder. Each 10 by 15-foot cell is shared by up to 6 criminals. Today is the annual eye exam. That means civilians in the Super Max Wing, an additional challenge for the commander. The prisoners can literally smell how tense the guards are.
The prisoners can get rebellious when there are too few guards. That's why we have to put handcuffs on them, in order to control their movements.
A few years ago, there was an escape attempt, but it failed miserably. The prisoners are under minute observation. Walls over 10 feet high, non-stop surveillance. The prison was even recognized by the American government for its high security standards. In Mexico, El Hongo is considered the model prison par excellence. That's why the inmates of El Hongo 3 use every opportunity to escape the dull monotony of their cells.
A little sun is nice. We like it. It gives us a bit more freedom.
Carlos Tejeda Valdez has been in the maximum security prison for more than 16 years. He was the leader of a suicide mission. He murdered his victim with 5 shots to the head. $35. That's all it costs to have someone murdered in Mexico. For his crime, he He's serving a 25-year sentence. In prison, Carlos doesn't need to fear that someone will take revenge. On the outside, things are different. His victims' relatives are just waiting for him to be set free again.
It may be true, but I'm not afraid. I've thought about it, but I'm not scared. I believe in God. He protects me from my enemies. And if not, then I'll bite the grass again, as we prisoners say. But I can't imagine I'd have problems after getting out. If the situation does arise, however, then I'll have to stand up straight and take the bull by the horns.
For many of the inmates, life has become a dangerous game of chance, and the daily routine in prison is not for everyone.
There are also people who can't handle prison. We all have to get through it. But those people aren't here in the cells. They're somewhere else, housed in a separate cell block. The prisoners here are only in for murder and kidnapping.
Violence among inmates, no rarity. Indeed, it's the order of the day. El Hongo has murderers, rapists, and drug smugglers who shrink from absolutely nothing. That's why some prisoners have to be kept apart. The cell block for homosexuals. About 20 men live here, kept separate from all the other inmates, to protect them from attack. At 59, Francis Lames is one of the oldest prisoners. The former psychiatrist was arrested by the police with 5 kilograms of meth. Since then, he calls this cell his paltry home.
I've been here for 7 years and don't have any problems. Thank God I'm okay. The guards tell me what to do. Do this, don't do that, but they're good to me.
Even if the guards don't bully the homosexual inmates, Mexico is split in this regard. Prejudices are strong among the broader population, and especially among the prisoners. That's why no one else is present when Francis goes out into the yard. A gay man in a prison full of men. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
It's a buffet. It's really quite interesting. You see lots of men here. Can't have them. In prison, you have to get used to abstinence. In my 7 years behind bars, I've had only one single relationship. And now, I'm trying not to start any new ones because of all the diseases. There are diseases like hepatitis and HIV here. You can get everything.
There are no condoms. That's why so many diseases spread. But sex among prisoners is not always voluntary.
A man in prison for rape will himself be raped and beaten. By the heteros, that is. That's the truth. One time, they even made me watch. Many of the men here have a tendency to rape. Some do it once, twice, 3 times. Others never do it at all. But most of the prisoners do it because they want to.
So far, Francis has been lucky. In 2 days, he has a long-awaited hearing. It will decide whether he'll be released 2 years early.
Hopefully, the judge will do the right thing.
The prospect of seeing his adopted son and grandson again soon overwhelms the 59-year-old. He's had no contact with them since he started serving his sentence. Francis places all his hopes in the judge's decision. His future is uncertain. – 7 p.m. The prisoners are sent back to their cells. Time to shut the doors. The guards have to check that every prisoner is present, about 2,000 in total. Officer Parra is among the guards at work in El Hongo 2.
Line up. Hands behind your backs. You know what to do.
To help the guards keep a clear overview, each prisoner is entered into the system by his fingerprints. Name, sentence, time served. The system leaves no room for loopholes.
We have to count the prisoners every day. We use a special system. The machine reads the inmates' fingerprints and compares them with the database. If a prisoner isn't in the cell, but rather in the infirmary, then we have to get his fingerprint from there. Otherwise, the system reports a problem. But so far, no one's ever been missing.
So far, no one has managed to escape from Mexico's most secure prison. But that doesn't mean the situation will stay that way. The mood among the prisoners can change in a flash.
I'm not really afraid. It's more that I'm nervous. You're here with so many inmates in one cell, and you know each one has done something terrible.
That's why Parra is glad to leave the cell block behind him for a while. In El Hongo 3, the guards have their most difficult task ahead of them: a cell raid. At night in the prison, while the inmates are in bed, the Special Commando prepares for its mission.
The first group searches the cells. You know the procedure. Understood?
The guards have gotten a tip. Drugs have supposedly been stashed in 2 cells. The inmates in El Hongo 3, so dangerous that even the highly trained special unit only dares to go in with an absolute numeric advantage. All the prisoners have to leave the cell. The tone is severe. No objections are tolerated. The atmosphere in the group cell is tense. If the guards do indeed find drugs or weapons, there will be a drastic penalty to pay: a sentence extension of up to 25 years. Carlos lives in one of the cells under suspicion.
It's unpleasant. I don't have anything to hide, but it's unpleasant.
Whether that's true remains to be seen. The search party proceeds. Every nook is unsparingly searched. Backup is waiting outside the cell, the special canine unit. Despite the excitement, the dog handler, Sandra, knows she can depend on her 4-legged colleague's nose.
The dogs are trained to stay calm in stressful situations like these. That means that fast movements, loud noise, when someone slams a door open or shuts or drops something, that stuff doesn't bother them. It's important for the dogs to be calm before the actual search begins.
Sandra's search dog is one of 20 that support the guards in the search for drugs. Over time, the prisoners come up with the sneakiest hiding places.
The inmates can hide things in bed, back at the wall, or in these holes here. Search here. Even in the scratches on the wall or in the toilet.
If the dog lays its ears back, it's found something. The dogs raise the alarm very rarely, but the guards still have to follow up on every tip, no exceptions.
We've searched 2 cells and found nothing.
False alarm. Neither dog nor guards have found anything. The special commando withdraws. That also means that the security barriers have worked. El Hongo prison is and remains the maximum security bunker par excellence. F block, preventive detention. Once a week, Gabriel and his cellmate get to go out into the yard. The other 6 days of the week, the cell door stays closed.
It wasn't always like that. We had the power. We had them under our thumb. They used to obey us, but things change. Like we can't always win the government, but that doesn't mean we have to stop from fighting them. I miss having my cell phone, I miss having my TV, I miss a lot of things. I miss the freedom. We had keys, we had our own keys to ourselves. I miss those times.
Bribery is the order of the day in Mexico. Politics, the bureaucracy, the military. Corruption infiltrates all layers of society like a cancer.
Even though we're behind bars, we still have strong connections with people out there that help us out when we need it. I'm just a simple prisoner willing doing my time. So the more corrupt, the better for me.
Within the prison walls, however, the wardens wage a fierce war against corruption. Carlos, the commander, knows what to expect.
Honestly, the people currently in charge of the prison are not corrupt. But if a guard becomes corrupt, it's difficult. Then he's got consequences to fear. Either you get prosecuted and end up behind bars yourself, or you lose your job. Corruption is scorned here.
El Hongo prison is considered absolutely incorruptible, the only one in all of Mexico. On the other hand, there's a great deal of violence and aggression. Many of the inmates will only leave prison when they die.
Most of our problems have to do with the prisoners' moods. You never know what mood they'll wake up in. They can behave quite calmly, but when they get bad news from home, they immediately get aggressive. And that leads to fights among the inmates, and even to riots. You have to keep an eye on the situation and make sure that it doesn't spread to the whole cell block.
In prison, even the smallest provocation can lead to a massive revolt among the inmates. For Gabriel in F Block, today is finally the day of his youngest daughter's long-awaited visit. At this point, he still doesn't know what the day holds for him.
My daughters and my wife. My main motivation.
Gabriel hasn't seen his youngest daughter in 14 years. He was arrested and convicted in Mexico right after her birth. His family lives in America, which is why they're only in touch with each other by phone. That's supposed to change in a few hours. His cellmate, Gilbert, has no visitors today. El Hongo's remote location makes it difficult for people to visit.
the fact that how they made this prison here, it's pretty hard. You know, I'm pretty sure it's different from a lot of prisons. The family could just move around and live around the city, around the prison, and it's easier for you. Here, I mean, it's twice a month a visit, but I mean, it's hard because they have to come all the way over here. Not only that, I mean, it's dangerous, you know, because anything could happen, you know.
The cartel killer knows what he's talking about. Nevertheless, family is often the only thing that keeps the isolated prisoners from going crazy.
My ex-wife, she was having problems. I said to myself, well, I have to help her because I was only getting 700 pesos, which is $70 a week here, so there was no way I could help her, so I had to do what I had to do, and I did it, and I helped them out, and while I'm here, and you know, part of me, I don't regret it, but half of me, you know, it's sad being here, you know, it's really sad. But hopefully this nightmares should be coming out, should be going away pretty soon.
He'll spend at least another 2 years between a nightmare and reality. Visiting day in no man's land. Every civilian who wants to enter El Hongo must submit to a very thorough search. The guards monitor the visitors with cameras and metal detectors. No contraband is allowed to cross the threshold of the maximum security bunker. In addition, Sandra, the dog handler, uses a search dog to search the family members for drugs and cell phones.
Hold on to your glasses so they don't get broken. The dog isn't aggressive, and he'll only jump if there's something inside. Search.
If the visitors do have something illegal with them, the dog lies down on the floor right in front of them. But that doesn't seem to be the case today.
Good. Thank you. Go ahead.
Smuggling methods have gotten increasingly sophisticated over the years. That's why the search dog checks all the gifts and mementos brought to the inmates. Especially popular, cell phones.
The whole prison is outfitted with signal jammers. You can also see them on the watchtowers. So there's no service inside the walls. But some people still try to smuggle cell phones inside. The consequences for that can be seen in the pictures on the wall.
The prison director is ruthless when it comes to smuggling. Those who try it usually don't leave the prison. The smuggling of illegal substances and cell phones is punishable by up to 25 years in prison. Back to Gabriel in F Block. He's looking forward to his daughter's long-awaited visit. But then comes unexpected news.
Do you have a visitor this morning? What did Danny say?
Yes, from 9:30 to 11. Is she there?
No, not yet.
Come on. Let me go out into the yard to make a phone call.
We're waiting for a visit for Valverde. His family still has exactly 1 hour to enter the prison. If they're not there by then, the visit will be canceled. We have a schedule from 9:30 to 11. If the family arrives just 1 minute past 11, they can't come in.
Gabriel hasn't seen his daughter in 14 years. And now time is running out. If she doesn't show up in the next hour, the earliest he can get approval for another visit will be 14 days. The moment of truth. Will Gabriel be able to embrace his daughter for the first time?
Come here. An hour has passed and nobody showed up, so no visit today.
Yeah, but I wanted to make a call anyway. You have the authorization. You have the key. And you can let me into the yard. I understand it's not easy, but the people over there also get to go down. This sucks. Really, this is giving me a headache.
Right, but your visitors didn't show up.
Okay.
An exception? Not in El Hongo. Gabriel is frustrated. He has no idea why his daughter didn't come. He has to make a plan.
Junior's the next one they'll take to the yard. He should make the call.
For years, Gabriel has waited for a chance to see his daughter, who is now 16. Today, he must bury his hopes.
Bumps in their lives, obstacles we have to overcome. I gotta be strong. So I'm gonna keep fighting until they can give it to me again. I mean, I've waited. I haven't seen it for 14 years. A few more days, a few more weeks, a few more months. Eventually I'll see her again.
At least he has the chance of being released in a few years. Some of the prisoners in El Hongo 3 will never leave. La Flor, the flower. That's what the guards call the special cell block, a prison within the prison, for the worst criminals of all, with sentences between 50 and 70 years. That's where Carlos, the commander, has to do his weekly rounds. To avoid dangerous situations, the guards only enter this cell block in closed formation.
Son privados de la libertad que están.
The inmates here aren't in solitary confinement, but they're watched very closely. There's very strict surveillance. The prisoners here are serving sentences of up to 70 years. They have nothing left to lose.
Organized crime, corrupt politicians, drug barons. La Flor's 106 inmates could transform the whole country into a bloody battlefield. The 9 by 12-foot cells are shared by 2 or 3 prisoners, hardened men kept like attack dogs in cages, some of them for the rest of their lives.
I'm serving 50 years for murder. That's why I'm here.
We get to go into the yard once a week for half an hour to make phone calls. It's depressing.
The guard's job, make sure the prisoners don't kill each other or themselves. The commander has to bring one of them to the doctor. The prisoners have almost no contact to the outside world. On the other hand, they have lots of time for reflection.
I'm in jail because I was in organized crime in Baja California. But in prison, you shouldn't think you'll get help from the cartel. You have to pull yourself up out of the muck.
No prospect of a reduced sentence or help from outside. Instead, lives that will end behind bars after decades of time served. The commander's shift is over. Time to go home. But it's actually not a home at all. A single room in the administrative section of the jail, smaller than the prisoner cells. It's simply too dangerous to live outside the prison. But Carlos needs neither luxury nor comfort. His job is his life.
I like my job. There aren't many people who want to do it. You've got to make some tough decisions, but that's part of the job. Some prisoners will despise you, even if you encourage them. But that's no reason to quit. You've got to be a professional here.
Gilbert has 2 more years to serve. Enough time to mull over his future.
My mother, I'm her only son. Yeah, she does feel sad, and she's getting old already, so I gotta stop this already. I think it's already time to do what I gotta do when I get out, because next time, I don't think she'll be around. And that's the only person that I could trust.
And Gabriel, when he gets out, he won't be able to avoid gang life.
You could be out, but you don't have to do the heavy things. You can do the light things. You can survive with it. As long as you don't know too much or do too much, but still be part, it'll work out. It's either that or you run away and for them to catch you and get killed. I better stick around and stick with the light stuff. Yeah. Just big decisions in your life, and I made some, and there's no turning back.